Good morning, class. This is John again. Checking in. I want to go over in a little bit greater depth the microcosm assignment that you have in the background of our time together this course. I've been working hard this morning. Turns out it's actually kind of a lot of work to miss a day of class. So anyway, bear with me as we try to keep up despite not meeting in class today. So again, my purpose here with this screencast is simply to familiarize you a bit more deeply with the microcosm assignment. So I'm going to go into modules, and as I mentioned in my last screencast, I put our microcosm assignment in between weeks 2 and 3. And so you might even need to go back to this, several times during the quarter, because you're going to have a microcosm assignment due for the first half of the course that is drawn from chapters 2 through 5. That one will be due on February 6th, and then you'll have a second one that's drawn from chapters 6 through 9, and that will be due March 13th toward the end of our time together this quarter. So anyway, this will be here throughout, and you can click on it for periodic reference. My goal here was to make this assignment quite self-evident, self-explanatory, but we're all different there, and you ought to feel more than comfortable to come talk to me at any point if you're unclear. So here's the purpose of this assignment. We talked at the beginning of class, and I shared with you kind of what my North Star, or my big picture hope is for you as a student in my class. And here it is. It's repeated. I want us to understand that there's a connection in a world region between the physical landscape and the opportunities that allows for the inhabitants of that world region. Also, how the landscape affects the flow of influences into that world region. And of course, those inevitably are going to affect the human geography. So the physical geography affects the human geography, and specifically things like language, customs, governments, economies, all those really important things to our everyday lives are impacted by that coming together. So I've been thinking, what really excites me as an instructor is seeing students take the text learning and the classroom learning that we have and apply it in creative ways and in ways that demonstrate that they're becoming familiar and that they're understanding a particular world region. So for me, I thought, what better way than to have students choose something that represents the essence of a world region. So I've introduced you to a couple terms here. Some of you probably are already comfortable with them. But the essence of something is that kind of defining element or quality that captures what a person or a thing or a place is all about. And sometimes that's difficult to do. Usually you have to know something fairly well before you know that thing or that person or that place's essence. And of course, that's what we're after here. I want you to know things well. Secondly, we have this idea of a microcosm, and as I've already introduced, a microcosm is that small glimpse of something that tells really the larger story or reveals a larger truth about, in this case, it could be a person, a place, or a thing. So I want you to select a microcosm of a world region and use that microcosm to demonstrate your understanding of the essence of that region. So that's how these two things fit together, and I hope that will become clear as we move through. So that's your challenge. Find a microcosm for two world regions. One of your microcosms will come from chapters 2 through 5, the 3 world regions that we will cover in the first half of the course. I guess that's actually 4 world regions that we'll cover in the first half of the course. And then the other one will come from 6 through 9, the 4 world regions that we cover in the latter half of the course. So I have this broken down by steps. In the pre-search, this is really important. I don't want you to choose a world region that you're not excited about. I don't want you to choose a topic, a microcosm that doesn't sort of ring true or resonate with you, that isn't uniquely interesting. So I've designed some questions here to sort of help you as you look through the material, as you peruse your textbook, help you sort of come to grips with a topic that you think would be interesting. And I think these questions, I could have probably listed 100 different questions here. You don't have to abide by these questions. These questions are designed just to get you thinking about what might make for an interesting microcosm and a world region that you will apply that microcosm to. And I encourage you to probably start that 2.5 weeks ahead of your submission date. So, you know, if you want to do a microcosm that comes from chapter 2 or 3, you probably want to get after it even sooner than if it's a later chapter. Okay, so once you've identified the region you want to investigate, as you've perused your textbook, there ought to be a number of different sort of search topics that that come up. For example, gentrification could be a search topic that comes to you from the piece on North America. I'm quite confident that's one of the development concepts that's put in play in that chapter. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into details because I want to leave that to you, but I've given you some examples of what might make good microcosms. A photograph, a piece of fine art, video clip, a hobby, a song, a pastime, a livelihood, belief system, you name it. Just about anything could qualify. Okay, so be thinking of a good microcosm. And bear in mind, your microcosm ought to help you discuss and capture the essence of your world region. So that's kind of what we're all about here. Okay, so at some point you'll want to follow up with me to let me know what you're thinking and where you intend to proceed. This could be literally a 3-minute conversation, maybe even shorter. I just want you to follow up with me so I know that you're on it and you're thinking about it and that you're making a wise or informed decision. Okay, step 3, research. Now that you've identified your world region and you think you have a good microcosm and your instructor has given you sort of the nod and said, yeah, that sounds like a great one, then you're going to need to find at least 2 academic sources to help you. So you'll research it. So for example, a microcosm I might have if I'm studying sub-Saharan Africa, my microcosm could be the 2010 World Cup. Okay, the international soccer tournament. And in my mind, I'm thinking, boy, the 2010 World Cup really revealed a lot about sub-Saharan Africa. The costs associated with putting on an international tournament, security, infrastructure, the kinds of teams that can play. What is it about soccer that makes it a good fit for sub-Saharan Africa? Obviously, sub-Saharan Africa probably isn't going to host an international hockey tournament, ice hockey tournament anyway, but soccer may be. So that could be an example. It's a microcosm that maybe allows me to capture the essence of that world region. Anyway, there are a number of different resources, databases here. These are academic sources. I want academic sources. So don't bring me information that's not of a academic source. Like I don't want to see an article in People magazine. I want it to be something that has gone before an academic audience. Okay? And then you'll see your challenge will be to annotate these sources. It's just 2 sources, but in order to annotate a source, you do some specific things. And here's just a basic background on that. But this is an actual sheet that ought to guide you. Let's see, will it allow me to open that up or not? Well, anyway, if you open this up as a document, so if you click here, you'll have it as an interactive document. Then you can click on this annotation link, and it'll take you to a little worksheet. It's just going to ask you 3 questions to help you determine whether or not a source is useful for your purposes. Okay? All right, moving on to step 4. You write your summary. You want to do this, beforehand, because because you might have to do a rough draft. Drawing upon your annotations, you're going to put together, it's just a 2-page summary, but your summary ought to be a way in which you use your microcosm to capture the essence of your world region. Okay? You want to do that. You want to use this, a good opportunity for you to practice your proper MLA format. There's a link there that will help you on that front. We're only using 2 sources, so this shouldn't be too difficult. Okay? Here are the proposed project deadlines. So for your first microcosm, you should probably start your pre-search by January 20th. That's 5 days away. Okay? You should then have a few days later identified your microcosm and your essence. These are just good timelines that tell you that you're either ahead or behind. And it's no coincidence that I'm giving you this assignment before the 3-day weekend so that you might consider getting an early start on your first microcosm. Okay? And then there's a separate timeline there for your second microcosm. These aren't going to be huge projects. I do want you to write, and I want you to arrange your thoughts. That's a great practice. But these microcosms, you know, they're 2-pagers. They ought to be interesting. They ought to be fun. And again, I've given you quite a bit of insight into how to do it. This is the rubric that I'll be using to evaluate how well you've fared in each of your microcosms. They're worth 50 points each, so together they're worth the value of an exam. If you do this well, I think it'll really benefit you. So, if you have questions, don't hesitate to come see me. I'm looking forward to this. I hope this will be a fun project for you. I'm very much looking forward to it. All right, and that's all for now. Take care.